Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live right here on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app. Howard Cross, John Schmeelk with you. The phone number is 201-939-4513. Hashtag Giants Chat on Twitter. If you want to get in touch with us that way, you certainly can. The draft is in the books. Lance and I talked about it yesterday. We got your reaction. We will continue to do that on the phones today at 201-939-4513. But we haven't heard from Howard since the start of the draft, so I'd love to hear your overall thoughts before I start picking your brain and going a little bit deeper.
I thought it was a very good draft for the Giants. I was very impressed. They got guys that we said they could never get because they wouldn't be there. They kind of fell to the right spot. The Giants moved up. They did do kind of what we were talking about, where they traded away some of the picks so they didn't have to draft 10 people.
Yep.
That really worked out as well.
4th, 5th, and 7th, the 3 picks they traded.
And so you get the center that we were talking about. You get the receiver that I said will probably
that other people wanted in the first round. By the way, you got him in the second round at center, right, which is kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah, and I was like, and you're probably going to get the receiver. Which receiver would you get? Got the kid I said you'd get. So I'm like, so I did pretty good the first 3 rounds, and then we got some other extraordinary players. The running back out of Oklahoma, like him a lot.
He's a really good player.
Yeah, I'm like him a lot. Saquon better sign.
I didn't say that.
So just filling in the entire draft and the way they did, I thought that the Giants had they grade themselves out. If you had to grade them, I'd grade them as an A. I thought they did a good job.
Because a lot of this is out of your control, right? You can say that I need players at these positions and I want to draft guys at this position, but sometimes the draft doesn't go your way and you can't get them.
Look at the Jets.
Right. Like the guy they traded right in front of him got the offensive tackle. They'll now, some reporting that, the Jets wouldn't have taken him anyway. Okay.
No, they wouldn't have. Okay. They were out of position. And it wasn't a bad thing. They got the quarterback they wanted.
Yeah.
But you shift it down and you lose the ability to protect the 40-year-old quarterback.
And I think Will McDonald's going to be a good pass rusher, the guy that they drafted there. So I think he'll be fine. But, look, and it just so happened that it worked out for the Giants where value and need lined up perfectly where who was available in each one of the 3 rounds. And in round 3, they did the trade up. And I guess that's my next question. Your thoughts on the aggressiveness of Joe Shane. They moved up to 1 spot in round 1. They moved up a dozen or so spots. I'll double check. I forget which one. In round 3, your thoughts on just them being aggressive to say, look, we need this guy. We're going to make sure we go and we get him.
Well, I think it's a little bit more than just we need this guy. I think when you have a slew of picks at your disposal, right? When you have a lot of extra picks, it gives you the ability to move up if there's a guy that's there that you can actually want and somebody that can fill a need at the same time. And you're like, okay, I can move up a couple spots because I don't have to worry about this. If I move up and get him, I have a couple, I got a couple picks to spend. And they were spending the picks and moving up. I thought it was a brilliant idea. And, acquiring a lot of picks to help build the right people and get the right people you want in the draft works out perfectly. All
right, and now we're going to have rookie minicamp this week, and then you start getting into OTAs at the end of May, and you get into minicamp in the middle of June. So what are the things, Howard, that you're going to be kind of keeping an eye on as this Giant team with the rookie class now hits the practice field and we start seeing a glimpse of what this team may look like in September?
A lot of it is pajamas, but the thing you want to look at, especially from the skilled guys, is how quickly they pick up the offense. There's the receiver room is full. Like, there's a lot of receivers.
Yeah, there's going to be a good player or two that don't make the 53.
Yeah, the receiver room is full. A lot of teams are watching to see what happens, what shakes out, which is funny because for years we've been talking about, the Giants need a receiver, the Giants need a receiver. And now they got a lot of receivers, and they got to see which ones are going to really shake out and be the guys.
They have thrown numbers at the problem.
Yeah, lots of numbers. Then it's going to be interesting to see how the running back room starts to fill out. Saquon's in negotiation, probably won't show up to some of these camps and stuff, probably won't come and work out. And he's got a young man that's a pretty dynamic running back that is going to be here every day, getting in his reps.
And Oklahoma's got a nice history of running backs in the NFL too now.
Yeah, and he's going to be in getting his reps every day. That's going to be some, undue pressure, whether you people like it or not. I'm a big Saquon fan. I'm probably one of the biggest. But the whole thing is timing and market. So that's going to be pressure.
Yeah, and Joe Shane did say he'll reconvene with Saquon and Dexter at some point this week. So maybe they can figure something out. We'll have to wait and see.
I think they will. I think they're going to. I think at the end of the day, they're probably going to figure something out. And if I had to put value on it, I would value. No offense to Saquon, I'd value Dex. He's been very healthy. He's been very dominant. I got to get him signed somehow, some way.
Yeah, I mean, his contract's going to be twice as big as Barkley's, probably.
Yeah, so you got to figure that out quickly. Barkley's, you still want to sign him, and it's good that you're going back to negotiate with him. But Dex is kind of like, he might be an all-pro for a long time.
Hey, Howard, I mean, you might laugh. Actually, I don't think you will, but some fans might laugh. Dexter Lawrence was the best player on the Giants last year.
He was. Left tackle's pretty good, too.
He would be the other guy in competition.
Yeah.
And that's fair. If you want to argue Andrew Thomas, I would not argue with you on that. That's fair.
Yeah, Thomas was very decent.
I'll be nicer. Dexter Lawrence, or I'll be a little bit less specific. Dexter Lawrence was the best defensive player on the Giants last
100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more. Definitely. Just hands down.
They do not beat the Vikings in the playoffs if not for Dexter Lawrence.
They don't beat a lot of teams if it's not for Dexter Lawrence. And the thing that when you're looking at it, people don't get, he's playing a little bit of an old school style football, which means he didn't come out of the game a lot. There were some games because of numbers and there was just not enough people to play that he got a lot of reps. We're talking about over 60 in some games.
And now, luckily, they've added Ashawn Robinson. Yeah. They've added Nacho. They can hopefully get those reps down to 70% or 65% of the snaps rather than 80 to 90% of the snaps.
Well, 60 plays is a lot of plays for a defensive player.
Especially for one that weighs 345 pounds.
Yes, a lot of plays. But anyway.
All right, let's get to it. 201-939-4513. Don't forget, folks, go subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. We'll have a draft review with Connor Rogers coming your way tomorrow. And then we'll do a little bit on the UDFA class with Kyle Krabs later on in the week. Also, check out draft season. Tony Pauline and I did a quick review of the draft class over the weekend. Then later on today, you'll have our full draft review. It's a long one, Pearson. I apologize. Hey, it's 32 teams, man. It's tough to get that in. I think it's about, an hour and 5 minutes or so. So we did about 2 minutes on each team, give or take, over the course of that podcast. So go check that out. Find it at giants.com/podcast, the Giants mobile app, or just subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for draft season, search for Giants Huddle, or even Big Blue Kickoff Live. And if you're an Apple Podcast, leave that 5-star positive review. Tell us how much you like us, and if you want to take some shots in the actual text, send it in to my Twitter feed, and we'll read them on the air, and we'll have some fun. 201-939-4513. Let's go to Tom in Stratford. I think we lost Tom at the start of yesterday's show. Now we got him back. Tom, what's going on?
You remembered that, huh?
That's funny.
I just want to say that this, for me personally, was the most enjoyable draft ever, and I have it to thank you guys for it because of all the shows I've been watching and all the interviews and podcasts. I was really informed. It was when the players came up, I knew who they were. And it was just a very enjoyable experience. I have you guys to thank for it.
Thank you for listening, Tom. We appreciate it. We love doing it.
That was a lot of fun.
And I also, I got to thank even Pearson for, putting up with me constantly calling him.
Hey, and by the way, Pearson edits and posts all this stuff, so you guys would not see any of it if not for Pearson. And I know I annoyed the hell out of him with all the content in the last month and a half. So we appreciate his hard work.
And, I'm very interested in seeing that guy, that huge fellow they drafted in the 7th round. He probably can't move very quickly, but 350 pounds is a load to move out of the middle. And, it's just another depth piece for us, and I'm excited about that, So I am very confident about the future of the Giants with the management staff we have. And even if, because the schedule is going to be harder this year, even if we don't match the record from last year, I still think we're going in the right direction, and I'm very excited to be a Giant fan. So thank you very much. Keep the show going, and have a great day.
Thank you.
It's as we talk about the draft, and we were so excited about it, the team down the road, they had a good draft, too. That green team.
Of course they did.
They keep drafting the Georgia two-time championship team.
Not a bad player not a bad plan to draft players from one of the best college defenses of all time, by the way. Not bad.
Not bad at all. But so,
Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Keely Ringo, all pretty darn. And by the way, Sidney Brown, that guy, he's going to be a pain in the butt for Giant fans. He is a really good football player.
I know.
I liked him and his brother Chase, who the Giants almost got in the 5th round, but he didn't quite get to him.
But we got a lot better, and they just keep stacking the deck. But I can't wait to see how it
And
goes.
by the way, I thought Washington and Dallas had pretty solid drafts too. Dallas kind of drafted for need this year.
Yeah.
Which I felt like, they drafted Mozzie Smith in the first round. He's really he's just that big guy to stop the run.
Yeah.
And then Schoonmaker out of Michigan, they kind of got wiped out on their tight ends a little bit. I thought that was maybe a little bit early for him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it definitely does fit two needs on their roster. And then Washington, they went cornerback early. They drafted 2 corners. They know they have to cover in this division, so we'll see how that works out for them.
It's funny too. Like Michael Mayer, he wasn't a first-round pick.
No, and Dallas had a chance to draft him at 26, and that's someone that I think we talked about for Dallas a lot over the course of the process.
I thought he was going.
I guess they didn't. I guess they wanted a guy that with a little bit more receiver juice in that spot. If I was Dallas, I would have picked Michael Mayer there.
That's
and I would not have thought twice about it, to be honest with you.
That's pretty interesting. Anyway, all right.
Look at it this way. Cowboy fans will be watching Schoonmaker very closely and Michael Mayer very closely because, trust me, if we thought about that, those bajillion crazy Cowboy fans in Texas have thought about that too. So they're going to be watching both those players, and if it doesn't work out,
they'll tell them.
They will let people know about that. Let's go to Bob in Myrtle Beach. He's up next. Hey, Bob.
Myrtle Beach.
Hey, good afternoon, Howard and John. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
Before I jump into it real quick, I just want to kind of piggyback off the other callers and say you guys did some excellent coverage. I loved how you guys did the show after the draft picks were picked. I was running right to my phone and putting you guys on because that was pretty cool.
That's
to be able
awesome.
to hear everything.
Thank you.
And yeah. So I don't know if you guys did that the previous year, but I really enjoyed that. That was great.
Well, this year they brought the A-team in to do that. So that's why. I'm just kidding. Bob and Carl and other stuff going on, so they had to bring in us to replace them.
Yeah. Well, anyways, as you guys just said and everyone said, I thought the draft was unbelievable. I mean, I don't know if I'm overreacting or anything, but I give it an A+. Being a Giants fan, is the best draft I could think of. I know we don't know what these players are going to be when they, actually develop. But, I was just the New York Post, for example, had our first 3 picks all going at 25 in different mock drafts.
Yeah. So did we.
We got them all.
So did we. No, look, if you go back to it, I can tell you just like Deontay Banks, I think in the first mock draft we did on Big Blue Kickoff Live, I think we gave Banks to the Giants. I did a reporter mock draft from our affiliate down in Pennsylvania that I posted on my Twitter feed, the guys I had left. I gave the Giants Jalen Hyatt at 25 in that draft. Yeah. And then Dottino in our first or second Big Blue Kickoff mock draft gave the Giants John Michael Schmitz in the first round. Yeah. So it was the same with us. Like all 3 of those guys were in the mix at 25.
They were our picks the whole time, though. We were like, okay, but if we can only pick one, we were trying to figure out which one would go.
Correct. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to lie, guys. I was literally jumping out of my chair at home. I was so happy. It was unbelievable. It was a great day. But my question for you guys is, obviously now that the draft's complete, I kind of start thinking about the 53-man roster and all that and the roster bubble stuff. I know it's still quite a ways away, but can't help but think about it. Obviously, I love our draft pick of Eric Gray. I think he has the potential to be a pretty solid NFL running back. But my question is, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really liked Gary Brightwell. I mean, I watched every game last year, and when I saw him in, I thought he was pretty darn good. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but, I just remember him, doing his job, running up the middle, getting us some touchdowns here and there. And I liked Brightwell. And, I'm just kind of curious if you guys think he's going to be able to hang on to his spot on the Giants roster. I know we're going to be up to 4 running backs if they decide to carry him because we got Breida. And the other guy I wanted to get your guys' opinion on is Jamison Crowder, wide receiver we signed as a free agent. Now, I know if you were to count all the wide receivers, I think we're up to 9, and obviously if Wandell and Shep start the season on the injured list, then, we're at 7 there. Do you think Crowder still has a chance of making the team? Reason why I brought up those 2 guys specifically, a lot of reports had those 2 guys' names coming on the roster bubble. For example, at Valentine's BigBlueView.com, they had, Brightwell and Crowder not making the team. So just wanted to get your guys' opinion on that, and I'll take it off the air.
No, good stuff, Bob. And look, that's why Howard mentioned when we talked about the offseason, running back and wide receiver are 2 position groups that he's keeping an eye on because it's full. I'll say this. I think Crowder is like your one really veteran presence in that room, except for Shep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whether or not Crowder makes the team will have a lot to do with whether or not Shep and Wandell are healthy to start the year. If they're healthy, I think it's going to be really tough for him. If they're not, I think he's got a better shot. And then just for Brightwell, real quick, Howard, then you can take on both. The one thing about Brightwell that might help him is, one, he's a really good special teams player.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Two, he's much more of a grinder than Barkley, Breda, Gray, who are kind of more perimeter guys, not necessarily grinding between the tackle guys. So maybe that gives him a little bit of a shot.
I think his special teams is what's going to save him. I think that him being available on special teams and being a really good special teams player, he can even up his ante a little bit with coverage. So that's going to help him out tremendously. I think as far as the receivers go, and Crowder, like Crowder, who's been around for a while, I just think that, it's going to come down to it. It's not even going to come down to Shep and Wendell. It's going to come down to how well the other kids come along.
Yeah, good point, too.
The other guys come along, they start, looking better, all of a sudden you start trying to fit guys and try to figure out which one of these guys can go. So you got, I got the true X, I got a true Y, now I got to get a guy in the middle for the Z. Or do I have a guy that can do all three? Are they going to be looking at the whole? Or we're going to keep some guys that are what we call quick guys that can make cuts and get themselves open, or can everyone get open? And that's going to be the big, because Hodgins last year, he was getting open.
And Crowder also a guy that has a lot of experience on punt returns, too.
Yeah.
So he could be that experienced punt returner you kind of throw. And I should have mentioned the news off the top, but it was so obvious I didn't bother.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday on the show, somebody called about Andrew Thomas and his fifth-year option.
Mm-hmm.
And my response was, no, it hasn't happened yet. But if it doesn't, I'd come on the show with you tomorrow, and I'd strip down, and I'd do the show without a shirt on, which you almost just did, by the way, which is frightening.
So hot. It was so hot. I was like,
Howard's been pulling off clothes for the last 3 minutes. I started getting nervous.
Took my hat off. I'm like, man, I'm burning up in his lights,
But the bottom line is that the Giants did put that fifth year on Andrew Thomas today. So thank God for me and everybody else watching that's not going to happen. Let's go to Jerome in Charlotte. He's up next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hi, Jerome.
Hey, guys. Love the show. I love all the reports. My biggest question is I've been trying to follow some of the free agent signings, and I'm really Andre Carter from the Army fan. I think he signed with anybody, or he's, I know the Giants haven't posted the free agents, undrafted free agents yet, but has Andre Carter signed with anybody?
There is a report that he went to the Minnesota Vikings. And remember, I think we had a fan call up Jerome last week asking about him as a potential third or fourth round pick, and Howard and I were like, guys, with that testing, I think it'd be later. Now, I'm shocked he wasn't picked as a developmental seventh-round guy, to be honest with you. I thought he would, but he ended up going undrafted because of those testing numbers. They just were not good enough.
Yeah, and to develop a guy that you're going to have to put bulk on him the whole time, that you don't know what's going to happen to him as he gets bigger and bulkier.
Now, the good thing is that at least now maybe he's undrafted. Maybe you can get him on the practice squad. You don't have to use a roster spot for him, and you can develop on the practice squad instead of having to use a 53 on him.
That's true. That's definitely true. So maybe we'll see. I mean, I'm pulling for him. Kid goes into West Point and comes out, gets drafted. I'm really pulling for him.
Yeah, I think everybody is. You have to.
Yeah.
One more quick question, if you don't mind.
Of course.
The rookie training camp is this weekend, so they would pretty much have most of the free agents as they can get signed by Thursday or Friday?
Yeah, Thursday the guys come in and they do medicals, and then they'll have everyone probably will be signed by the end of Thursday that are able to sign, and then the first practice is Friday. There's a second practice on Saturday. My guess is that at some point, usually Friday morning is when they put everything up on the website. So hopefully on Friday's Big Blue Kickoff Live, we can run through some of the team's undrafted free agent signings, which we cannot do quite yet because none of that is official.
There you go. And go ahead.
Every day, I constantly look at see what's going on, and sometimes if ain't nothing going, I listen to one of the shows again. So
I appreciate it.
I'll sit back and wait as everybody else. I love the show. Keep up the good work. Wonderful job. Never disappointing.
Thank you, Jerome.
Very nice.
And you guys on the phones never disappoint us. You've been with us all through this process.
They've had some good picks.
Yeah.
They did a good job. A lot of studying going on out there.
for a lot of people.
Yes, not just us, a lot of people.
But not all of them. Charlie's in Portland, Maine. He's up next. Hi, Charlie.
I knew there had to be something. I'm like waiting. I'm like, why is he doing this?
You served it up for me, and I just spiked it right down.
Hey guys,
hey, Charlie.
I think there's a little bit too much love going on right here. I got to bring this to a little reality, a little bit. Hey,
Charlie's version of reality now, not actual reality.
I keep hearing that music from the Twilight Zone in the back of my mind, but go ahead, Charlie.
We actually, back in the day, I had put like a little production together for an open for Charlie.
Oh my god!
And I used the Twilight Zone music, just FYI, which is why I laughed that you brought that up. Go ahead, Charlie.
Hey, Howard, I know you hated that second round pick because you hate centers. And I know you were thinking, like, we can just get a guard in the 6th or 7th round and
Charlie,
turn him into a center.
He just didn't
right?
want one. He just didn't want one in the first. That's it.
Charlie, we even said that kid that we drafted was one of the kids that could be drafted in the first round at pick 25. We didn't say it because of anything other than, like, he's a good player. But when you say, like, value picks and all that stuff and what can guys do, what guys can't do, he's a really good player and a really good center. So he should do a good job. But if he wasn't there and there was a big guard that was right there, we would have took him. I mean,
and by the way, big Osiris Torrance out of Florida was sitting there, who's like a 330-pound monster.
Yeah, he's a.
I wanted to take him.
He was scary. He's a scary dude. But those big guards sometimes, you have to be careful with them.
I mean, look at Will Hernandez, right? He was big, he was strong, he can move people, but then when the bullets started flying, they flew a little bit too fast for him a lot of the time.
He can take the twist.
And the stunts, 100%.
Yeah. Did you guys see the picture of Mr. Schmidt and Daniel Jones together? I mean, Schmidt looks like a dwarf. He looks like a dwarf center. He looked thin. Jones was, I know he's taller, but not by much. But he was so much wider and bigger than the friggin' center. I just couldn't believe it.
No, Daniel Jones is not wider than John Michael
He
Schmitz.
was wider.
No, he's not wider.
Yeah.
It must have been the angle of the camera, Charlie.
It means he was he's standing closer to the camera.
Exactly. It's called depth perception.
Well, I would love for somebody to stand closer to the camera than me.
But by the way, though, I think now all jokes aside, I think fans do underestimate how big of a dude Daniel Jones is.
Oh no, he's a big dude.
And, not for nothing, he's pretty jacked up. If you see Daniel, he's pretty well put together.
Well,
and I think he did that so he could stay healthy.
Yeah, I'm about to say over the last few years, he was running for his life. I'm like, okay.
Hey, look, but is John Michael Schmitz, Charlie, this big hulking offensive lineman? No. He weighed in at 301 pounds at the combine. He said his playing weight last year was around 307 to 310.
Okay.
So he's not this big 330-pound behemoth at center.
He's just quick.
He's a pretty good athlete. He's good with his hands. He's strong. But no, he's not this huge Mack truck that's gonna move Jordan Davis off the ball.
Yeah, he's not about Jordan Davis off the ball.
When you play the Philadelphia Eagles.
John, look.
Yes. Charlie.
I saw the tweet that my quarterback, Tommy DeVito.
How is he your quarterback?
Who's Tommy DeVito?
He signed with the Giants. He comes from Illinois. He played in Syracuse. And John,
Jersey guy, went to Don Bosco.
He's my paisan, and you got to do an interview with him when everything's finalized. Will you do that?
We generally do not do one-on-one interviews with undrafted free agents. We don't like to, think about this too, Charlie. Remember, other teams, believe it or not, and people will laugh about this, teams do actually assign interns usually on their pro personnel staff to go locate content from other team sites. So generally speaking, the Giants front office do not like us to pump up undrafted free agents because the Giants might want to sneak those guys onto the practice squad when you get to September. So I would not expect any one-on-one interviews with undrafted free agents, so the Giants might want to try to sneak onto the practice squad.
And they don't like you talking about practice squad guys either.
Well, hey,
because they don't want guys claimed off of the practice squad. 100%. Howard ain't wrong.
Hey, you can make me an intern and I'll interview him. How's that, John?
I think you're past the age limit. We're not doing age discrimination, but.
Hey,
I don't know what would
happen.
have to happen for me to want to hire Charlie as an intern, but it would have to be something fairly drastic.
Huge bag of money. Huge bag of money.
Also,
Well,
Charlie,
maybe-
you being an
maybe
intern
they're gonna
doesn't
have
help the situation.
No.
Maybe they're going to have a senior, like a senior day or something, and you can let me know, right? Okay. Hey, Howard. Well, anyway, I hope this guy works out, Mr. Schmidt, and
Schmitz.
but he's still
Schmitz.
and he's still playing next to two bad tackles. I mean guards. That's not going to help him too much. But anyway, thanks, guys.
Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you, Charlie. Do you want to say something about the guards?
No.
Glowinski's not a bad player.
I'm not
He
saying
had some rough
anything,
moments last year. He's not a bad player.
I'm not saying anything.
And we'll see. And hopefully Azudu can develop into a good left guard. Remember, he was a third-round pick last year. He was hurt a lot. He's a guy that I know they like, and he has a lot of promise. Throw Marcus McKeithen in there, too, the young draft pick from last year. And
Health changes a lot of things.
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
And not being a rookie. By the way, and
Remember Andrew Thomas was hurt the first year or half?
a couple years.
Yeah, so then all of a sudden he's not hurt. Oh, all pro.
And I'll tell you,
Interesting.
if Azudu can develop, and I made this point, I think, on one of Friday night shows that we did after the draft pick. Go check those out, by the way. If Azudu figures out a way to win the left guard spot, right? And Schmitz ends up starting at center at some point. You're going to have 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen either in their 4th year in the league or fewer.
Oh, wow.
And that's a nice little. If these guys do develop, there's no guarantee of that.
Yeah.
With Evan Neal too at right tackle, you guys have to develop and get better. But if they do,
And
you
stay
got
healthy.
Yes, you got a nice little young core on the offensive line that can hopefully grow together and become a good unit that knows how to play well together.
I like that. I think, and they have young contracts, so that's going to help out tremendously too.
Andrew Thomas's contract's coming faster than you think, but
his is going to be here next week. But anyway, so I just think that they have a potential, to be like one of the best offensive lines over the next few years because they could be together for a long, long time.
and by the way, they need him to be. Because if you look at the NFC East, what's the one thing all 3 NFC East teams do really well?
Great defense.
They know how to rush the passer, dude.
And make tackles in the backfield. So they're all good. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really good. And by the way, just for the record, Andrew Thomas's 5th-year option is for $14 million, and that kicks in on the salary cap. Remember, that's next year. So this year, he's good. He's still on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
2024, that's when that 5th-year option kicks in. And who knows, maybe they do some type of contract extension
They will.
before then. The
They
same
will.
way Dexter Lawrence are trying to get something done before his 5th-year option kicks in this year.
Yeah.
So that's how you kind of take a look at that. 201-939-45. By the way, the Packers, you saw what they did? Instead of putting the 5th-year option on Jordan Love, they just gave him like a 1-year deal, split the money up over 2 years. So he's got a $22 million extension. So that's the Packers showing some confidence.
Well, I don't think he's a bad player per se.
We haven't seen enough. I don't know what the hell Jordan Love is. I don't know.
He was a first-round pick. I think
By that front office. I mean, that matters.
Well, they had some hits on their first-round picks.
No. My point is that, though, they're the guys that drafted him. So they
Yeah.
obviously believe in him because
Yeah.
they're the team group that drafted him.
We'll see.
201-939-4513, and we'll see Aaron Rodgers again this year.
We'll see.
I'm just saying, the Giants are going to play him. So we will see Aaron Rodgers on the field again if he's healthy when the Giants
There you
get to
go.
him. Oh, that's where you were going. I didn't put that 2 and 2 together. I've had a couple long days, Howard. I'm not quite as quick as I should be. Let's go to Jeff in Rhode Island. I haven't heard from Jeff in a while. Jeff, what's going on, pal?
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen.
What's up?
John, thank you and all the other fellas for doing a splendid job with the draft coverage, as you always do.
Thank you.
And Howard, thank you for your contributions
I
as
appreciate
a
it.
New York football giant. I have to tell you, I watched a game on YouTube the other week. It was against the Philadelphia Eagles when Lewis Tillman had a big running game against that day, filling in for Rodney Hampton. And you blocked down on an Eagles defensive end or a tackle. I'm not sure which, but I had to replay it because you knocked that guy into next week. And you were awesome.
We had fun back
Now,
then.
I will warn you, Jeff. I'm sure as someone that listens to the show all the time, I know you do. Howard's memory on stuff like that, not the best. Probably because he was blocking down and slamming his head into large defensive linemen for most of his career.
Yeah, I know.
You knock so many of them around, you can't remember them all.
Of course, Howard just remembered that was Reggie White. He did that too. And by the way, and he also said he did it rather easily, I believe, is what his quote was.
That's not Reggie.
It wasn't that particular game. It wasn't Reggie White. But anyway, what I wanted to comment on was
he was on Green Bay right? Yeah.
I know that Joe, couldn't get everything solved in this draft position-wise in regards to needs. I'm kind of concerned about that we seem to be rather light on the edge and linebacker positions, and it troubles me somewhat that, we're going to have to be looking at the free agent crop to probably, fill that in. So I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that, and I'll hang up and listen.
No, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the call, man. I mean,
I didn't really feel like there was a lot of great linebackers in this draft.
It was not a good linebacker.
So no offense to the kids that were coming out, and hopefully they have great careers and everything.
And they spent a lot of money on Okereke in the offseason, too. And they brought, so look, linebacker real quick before you go to edge. They have Okereke, who they paid a lot of money to. Mm-hmm. They brought back Jared Davis, who was a star at the end of last year. He's going to play a prominent role. And you have Darren Beavers, who they drafted last year and played great in the summer last year. He's coming back. And you have Micah McFadden, who you drafted last year, too. So those are your 4 off-ball guys that you kind of have in the middle. I don't think I'm missing anybody. I'll double-check the roster. So you have some numbers there and guys that I think you believe in, and some guys like Davis and Okereke who have experience too.
Yeah, I think the linebacker thing is pretty good. I think the edge rusher, you got 3 guys that are coming off the edge this year that are going to be okay. I just think that it's probably, when you look in the draft, I think they solved a lot of issues in the draft. I think the biggest issue that the team had as a whole wasn't so much the defense. I think it was more of they couldn't figure out how to stop the run all the time. And they did that a lot through free agency, and they picked up a big mountain of a person also to be in the middle. So they have created the moment where they can stop the run, and teams will have to put the ball in the air to try to beat the Giants. And when they do that, they drafted a cornerback first. So with Banks. So I think that as a defense, they're a lot more solid. Then going out and getting a receiver that can stretch the field and make big plays down the field. I hate to say it, they plugged a lot of holes.
Yeah, and then at defensive end, you want to talk about some of the. And by the way, the guy that Howard's talking about is Jordan Riley, the big defensive tackle out of Oregon. Now, he was 31 on Jane Brugler's board. He did not have a full report on him in here. It just has the testing numbers. It's one of the few guys. 6'5", 338, ran a 5.28 40-yard dash. 25-inch vertical, kind of like mine. And Ape, of course, he weighs around 175 pounds more than I do. And a 8'6" broad jump.
Yeah, he's just
he's
a
a large fella.
Big, massive. It's like you got to be moving a mountain every time you run into him.
And let's see, I'm looking at kind of the defensive ends here that the Giants will be rolling out there this year.
Well, see, end is funny because, Leo's an end.
Well, outside linebackers.
Okay,
outside linebackers. Mm-hmm. Remember, you have Azeez Ojulari, you have Kayvon Thibodeau, right? Mm-hmm. You bring back Jihad Ward, who's kind of that run-stuffing end. He does a really nice job. They really liked what they got out of Tom and Fox last year. He came on at the end of last year. He was an undrafted free agent. I think they think he can develop into something and take on some of those snaps. And then
he's going to gain some weight.
And then the wild card is Ellerson Smith. Is a guy they drafted 2 years ago. He's dealt with injuries. Mm-hmm. And his testing is off the charts. You look at him walk down the hallway. He looks like an outside linebacker, edge player. You can get something out of him. So is it stacked up with the guys with a ton of experience and pelts on the wall? No. But there are some guys with talent at that spot that you can rotate into.
They have a tremendous amount of talent in there. If we can keep them all healthy, then all of a sudden you have 4 guys that can really wreak havoc in the game.
And then Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown, 2 other linebackers that are in the mix too. But I think they're seen more as special teams players than they are as defenders.
I think they're definitely going to be with the crew they got now. They're definitely about to really brush up on the special teams.
If they're going to make the team, that's how they're going to make the team. And they were both core special teamers last year. They played on all the teams. So.
And let me put it like this. Our special teams will be way better this year because the depth is just so much more.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
You know what I just realized?
What's that, Pearson?
That Ojulari will play his brother this year because we play the Cardinals.
Oh, very good. I forgot the Giants do play the Cardinals this year.
That's
It'll be
true.
the Ojulari on Ojulari. Good call, Pearson.
Nice. Even though they both play defense.
Yeah, but still.
Okay, all right.
See, Pearson's thinking of social media features already. He understands what his job is.
It's like quarterback versus quarterback. I get it.
Yes.
I get it. Yeah, I got
exactly.
it. I got it.
100%. And then the other Cardinals, we'll see. I mean, depending on that's one of those games where you want to get them early in the year, right? Because you want to get them before Kyler comes back.
I don't think it matters if Kyler comes back or not. I don't think the Cardinals are in disarray.
Well, yeah. I mean, their roster's just not very good.
No, well, they're not. The roster's not very good. Guys are asking them to be let out. Kind of like remember when the mass exodus from Houston?
Hey, DeAndre Hopkins showed up to off-season workouts
because he wants that money. Yeah. What are you talking about?
I'm not judging his motivation, Howard.
Bruh.
I'm just telling you what happened.
Bruh, my check there. I'll be right there. Hold on.
All right, so I'm actually gonna ask both of you guys. Does week 1 is DeAndre Hopkins on the Cardinals roster? Howard, yes or no?
100% yes.
Pearson, yes or no?
Yeah, I'll go yes.
I think he is too, because I think if he would have been moved, he would have been moved by now.
I don't even think about the moving. I think that they're looking at their roster and they're like, what help do we have, and what we need somebody.
Will he be moved by the trade deadline?
No.
I say yes.
I don't think he'll be moved by the trade deadline.
I think he's gone by the trade deadline.
I'll say yes as well.
I'm gonna say no.
I think they'll be in full tank mode by then, trying to get Caleb Williams.
Well,
Kyler, rest that knee, man. You gotta make sure it's all right, dude. Like, take a break. It's okay. We'll be fine.
I don't think that GM and all those guys will not be around if Kyler doesn't show something.
No. Remember, it's all new guys.
Oh, it's all new guys.
They fire everybody this offseason.
Hey, Kyler, bro.
Here we go.
Look at the camera, Kyler. You better get yourself back on the field there, little man. I'm serious. It's not good for you right now. You ain't got nobody got your back out there. You better take care of yourself.
Yeah, new coach, new GM.
Take care of yourself, Kyle.
Hey, look, dude got his contract. He cash wise, he good.
Yeah, but I guess if you didn't want to be in the league, you did all right. He can go play baseball again.
Come on. That's a little strong. There are a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks. Trust me, I think Kyler Murray could find a starting job somewhere relatively quickly. Your looks, dude. I wish. Hope you guys are watching on video. The look he just gave me is
name 3 teams he's going to start
on. Where would he start on this year? Cardinals is one.
Houston.
Well, they just drafted a quarterback.
True.
They just drafted C.J. Stroud. Oakland or Las Vegas, pardon me. He's better than Jimmy G. He's better than Jimmy G.
Go ahead.
Patriots?
Easy now.
No, he wouldn't go to Patriots. Bill Belichick wouldn't.
I'm just saying where he's better than what their starter is right now.
Okay.
Detroit? Upgrade over Goff, I think, right?
I think what you're doing is the way I'm looking.
Packers, I think you got to be start over Jordan Love. This is easy. This isn't even hard. Take any team in the NFC South. Bam. Any one of those 4, you can do 2.
I just think that you think that these other guys aren't. I think that Kyler has a very unique skill set.
No, he does. That's true.
Right, and I don't think he's that big. Put him on some of these other teams. He's not durable enough. He's not anything.
I know, but Howard, he's had a lot of success in the league, numbers wise. He's put up a lot of production when he's been healthy. And he's a hell of a Call of Duty player.
Yeah, and do they go? How many times do they go to the playoffs?
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Let's get out of the weeds. Kyle, because we can't see Kyler in there. He's not tall enough.
I don't think the Cardinals have won the playoffs yet. Has he? I don't.
Got them 2.
That's what I meant. Got
Sniffed.
them the playoffs. I don't think so. Right?
Nothing.
No, they sniffed one year. They sniffed. Hold on.
I did not mean to get us on an Arizona tangent.
This is all your fault, Pearson. No question about it. I'm definitely in the weeds, and I cannot fight.
Oh my goodness.
Hold on.
No,
we got to look this up. This is all Pearson's fault. I'm going to take that.
You know where you can start? Minnesota. What's that guy's name?
Hey, he's on the last year of his deal, so he could actually start.
There you go.
And by the way, they made the playoffs with Kyler Murray in 2021. They won 11-6.
They did?
Yeah, they won 11-6 and made the playoffs. I thought they did. See?
You know what it is?
That's pretty good.
That's a COVID year, so I can't remember.
Oh, come on.
I lost 2 years of my life.
Now, if I remember right, was Kyler hurt? Didn't Colt did he play in the playoff game that year?
Yeah, Colt McCoy was the reason why they got in the playoffs.
No. That's not the reason they got in. That's not the reason they got in. Hold on. I'm looking up Kyler Murray's game. We really are in the weeds now.
We got callers.
Hold on. I got to see if he played in the playoff game now. Shut up. No, he did play in the playoffs. He missed 2 games in the middle of the year that year. That's it. He played in the playoffs. He did not play particularly well in the playoffs against the Rams, but he did make to the playoffs. Okay. And they might have they did go 1-4 in their final 5 games, but they did make the playoffs. So they sniffed. I was correct. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Len in Columbia, Maryland. I'm sure was just grinding his teeth during that conversation. Hi, Len.
Yeah, I was hanging in there. I was all that conversation.
We just had the last medals of football conversation right there.
I was wondering, there were a couple
Small
of times
players.
over the years, Sean. There were a couple of times over the years when, just before I got on, I'm listening to you, and I remember a couple of times saying to you, "What the heck are you guys talking about?"
Exactly.
It was all Pearson's
I
fault.
tried to stop them, Len.
Well, you started us. That's your fault.
All I said was BJ Ojulari.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, listen, it's great to be on with you, and great draft coverage, Sean.
Thank you.
Not just you, the whole crew.
Of course.
Man, it gets better every year. It's
We
better
try.
every year. In fact, John, I haven't been with you as long as I have. The whole show, it's just matured to a point where it's a terrific show. I mean, you guys have done a good job over the years. And
Thank you.
Geez, it's just really grown.
Now, Len, we're working the Atlants out, and then we're really going to take that next step. But he's very stubborn, and he just holds on to the leg of the table, and we just can't get him out of here.
Wow.
There you go.
I'm just kidding.
Listen,
We love Lance. He's the best.
Oh yeah. He's an important part of the show. I'm so sorry to hear about Pat Hanlon's wife.
Yeah, awful.
Rest in peace. Pat's a good man. He helped me out a couple of times, and I'm just really sorry to hear about that.
Thank you.
In fact, I remember back in the early days, the beginnings, Sean, Pat used to come on Fridays.
We had Pat once a week, and then Pat got a little too active on Twitter, and then Pat pulled back on all of that stuff because he wanted to still be employed by the Giants.
I talked to him a couple of times on the show, and boy, it was always an interesting.
Yeah, we used to have him on the radio pregame show too. I missed those. That was fun.
He had a lot to say.
Yeah, too much to say. That was the problem.
Okay, now on to the real stuff.
Pat needed his own PR guy to tell Pat what not to say when he did his media hits.
That's so bad.
Terrific draft for the Giants. I mean, what more could we ask for? Like you said right at the beginning of this show, John, need and value matched up. I mean, what's better than that? Interesting. A couple of questions about some of the players.
Yeah.
First of all, the 6th-round pick. Was he on your radar, John?
Is that Hawkins?
Yeah, Hawkins.
No, I had not watched him at all. I did not know anything about him, to be honest with you.
It was interesting. The station that I was watching the draft on,
Giants.com.
The only player they didn't have any film on was Trey Hawkins.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah. They went right past him and caught him by surprise. And then I start to read about Hawkins, and he looks like that. I mean, he looks like he could be a pretty good player when you read about him. What was interesting was I guess Joe and maybe Dable went down to the pro day, and I understand he had a terrific pro day.
Yeah, he ran a 4.4 flat 40-yard dash at his pro day.
Yeah, and I was wondering whether that's where they. That's where they first saw him. And then they had him in for one of those visits, right? They had him in for one of those 30 visits, I think.
Was he a 30 visit? I would have to double-check that. I'm not positive off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think he was. And I was just wondering whether the initiative to call him in for one of those visits was the fact that they had been to the pro day and he kind of got discovered at that time.
The pro days, don't believe it or not, aren't the time when they discover guys. They have guys like tons and tons and tons of guys going out scouting and watching game films and being at facilities. You can watch the films all you want, but unless you're at a stadium and know the situation and what's happening and see how a guy shows up, that's when you learn the most about him.
I do not see him. Oh no, he was. I do have him on.
I thought he was.
on the 30th visit. And
I was just wondering, if one followed the other. I know they were interested in that guard from ODU. There was a pretty good player down there, an offensive guard.
They had a guard. Saldivari was the guard, and then they also had Zach Kuntz, the tight end. So they actually had a pretty darn good class out of Old Dominion this year. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Let me talk about Hyatt for a second. A little bit. This isn't trivia, but because I know you guys know this, but there's only one guy who got drafted who scored 5 touchdowns against Alabama. Howard.
Wow.
Wow. Yes, that's true.
I think our connection is breaking up. Is he still there? Is he still there? What is that about?
And by the way, it wasn't just Alabama. He had 15 touchdowns this year. That dude knew how to get in the end zone.
But I mean, what really put him on the map was when they upset Alabama and he scored those 5 touchdowns. But that's he's kind of an interesting guy. Lasting till the 3rd round like that. I thought he was going to go a lot earlier, and the knock on him seems to be the route running. Limited, his knowledge of the so-called route tree. I mean, what's that all about?
Oh, well, I mean,
how do you...
it's simple, Len. I can tell you. There are 3 things with Jalen Hyatt, 2 of which are directly related to the offense he played in at Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And it's not his fault because that's what he was asked to do. Mm-hmm. And Howard can expand on this after I'm done. Yeah. They played in that old school Baylor spread system where you put 2 receivers on that side of the field. It's a half field 2 receiver read. One guy usually runs a hitch, the other guy runs a post or a fly or slant, something like that. Mm-hmm. And the quarterback reads that one side of the field based on what the DB does. He throws it to one of the 2 players. So he basically ran goes, posts, slants, and hitches. That's what he ran.
And corners.
And corner routes, flag routes, right. So and the other part of that, in addition to the limited route tree, PFF tracks this. In his college career, he faced press coverage like 60 times in 4 years. Mm-hmm. So because how they stack their receivers, Len, what that means is that they will line up an outside receiver. They'll put Hyde in motion literally behind the other receiver so he can't be pressed. And to your point, and I know you know this because you track this, he played at basically 175 pounds. So can he handle getting pressed at that weight in addition to the route tree? So I think all those things in combination is what pushed him down the draft board a little bit.
Right. Now, well, then it's not a question of his not being able to learn a route tree.
No. See, when you do what you're told.
Yes, correct.
Right, and for 4 years, when you're running something for 4 years, if you're not exposed to a lot, like when I was in college, was a billion years ago, I believe we had George Henshaw was the first offense coordinator, and then we had Homer Smith as the second offensive coordinator. So I had 2 different systems that I had to learn in college. And it meant a lot to have to learn 2 systems because once I got to the Giants, I learned like 5. So it's just you learn them as you go. It's a lot of the same stuff, but people name it differently. I think Coach Reeves he wanted to call the holes backwards. Like instead of going like 2, 4, 6, 8, he wanted to go 2, 4. I'm like, Coach, that's on the left side. That's supposed to be on your right hand. And he goes like, no, this is the way I call it. I'm like, good luck with that.
and Len, by the way, and I think there's one other thing I'll throw out there too. Hyatt was a 1-year wonder. I mean, as a freshman, he had 20 catches. As a sophomore, he had 21 catches. Then he blew up as a junior with 67 for 1,200 yards. So I think teams also want to see a more consistent, bigger resume too. I think when they look at these guys.
But their offense changed too.
No, it did. That's true.
Here's the good news about that 1 good year thing, John.
It was really good.
He is ascending.
Yes.
Which I always think is a pretty good thing.
And he's young. Look, he's only 21 years old. He's a young player.
Yeah. Well, are we going to have to? Thanks for staying with me for so long. But are we going to have to scheme this guy in some way?
Maybe early. Maybe early. You want to do some things to keep press coverage off of him and stuff like that. But look, he's got a skill that works in any scheme.
So
Dude can run. Go ahead, Howard.
Let's just look at it like what's going to happen. The coaches are going to draw up plays and he's going to have to learn to run them. They're
Okay.
They're not going to, and they didn't last year. They didn't scheme for any one player at any one time. So if you're thinking scheme to get him in the game because he's so fast, won't happen.
Yeah. So listen, I'm not a big fan of trades during the draft, but I like the way Shane handled these too. I mean, he waited till our pick, and we knew who was there, and we could make that pick. I don't like it when we trade back and we go from like 25 to 43. We have no idea who the heck's going to be available. But I think I think he handled that pretty good. The only excruciating part of it was going from 73, pick 73, which was highest, to 172. There were like 99 players came off the board. There were some awfully good football players who came off the board during that time.
Look, and Len, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it. We got to run. And look, I don't mind. Look, fifth, sixth, and seventh round picks. You got to trade a couple of those to move up to get your guy. Whatever, I don't care. That's fine. That doesn't bother me.
Like I told you, you couldn't have an 11-team draft, 11-player draft, and a 10-player draft. That's almost 40% of your team. With a 53-man roster,
20%, yes.
It's more than 20%. If you're all 20 guys, if you drafted all 21 guys on a 53-man roster,
21. Where'd you get 21 from?
11 and 10. If they'd have drafted all the guys,
you're counting last year's draft. I got you. My bad. I got you.
If you draft that many guys, you wouldn't have many veterans, and you may not have a lot of good players.
No, you're right about that.
You can't do it.
No, 100%. And look, trading the fourth round pick stinks. You can get good players in the fourth round, but given the way we were talking about Jalen Hyatt, and understandably so, I think you got a early second round value there in early round 3. So I think losing that fourth round pick, and I went you can listen to yesterday's show, I went through some of the players that were picked in that fourth round slot. Mm-hmm. There's no one where I'm like, I can't believe we didn't get that guy. Nobody jumped out at me per se. Let's go to Rick in Tampa. He's up next. Hi, Rick.
Hey, what's up? Long time talk to you guys. How are you?
How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great down here. And you know what's funny? First off, let me just throw out the Knicks are sucking. The Rangers just blew it all.
The Knicks just played one game in the second round. Let's not throw that word around, all right, Rick, please?
No, the Knicks played a game like a typical New York team, Rangers and Yankees. They're up by 10. They look like they're blowing them out, and they did a typical New York.
They led by 10 points in the second. Hold on, they led by 10 points in the second quarter. Do you know what I'm gonna ask Howard. Howard, what does a 10-point lead in an NBA game in the second quarter mean?
Nothing. I know it means
right. Exactly. It means nothing.
And it means nothing. But every guy on Twitter and all of our New York writers and everything are going, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna blow them away." And that's the typical way we think about New York teams.
Well, no one should have said that either. The Heat are good.
Jimmy buckets, baby.
And Eric Spoelstra's a great coach.
And didn't they eliminate the number one team that everybody picked to win the championship?
Giannis.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what we're talking about.
I hope Knicks fans weren't dumb enough to think this was going to be an easy series.
No, it isn't easy. But I'm going by just a typical New York thought is that when they were up by those points, everybody's like, oh, they're going to, and they're thinking that Randall's going to be the answer, which he's not, because I don't think Randall is going to be a positive for the team, but that's me thinking. Mm-hmm. Let's hope they pull it tonight, because I'm so mad at the Yankees and the Rangers right now.
I will be there tonight. I'm very excited.
Giants question.
Yeah, Giants
question.
All right. Real quick on Pat Hanlon, that said, I remember that show Pat Hanlon used to be on. It was years ago. I think it was on on the app here. I used to love it with him and Bob Papa, and they had the other guy, and they did a little round table.
Giants Online. It was called Giants Online. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a great. I loved it every week.
Fooch.
I look forward to that.
Get Fooch on that.
Yeah, with Fooch. Fooch is the other guy. Yeah. So anyway, and pray for his family. I mean, it's sad with his wife down here. Shaq Barrett's 2-year-old daughter drowned in a pool.
I know.
The other day.
Awful news. And folks, if you have little kids and you have a pool, please put up gates or something, man. Like it's so dangerous.
And teach
them. You just have to watch them.
Teach them to swim.
Teach them to swim
as early as possible.
Yep, and I call you from my pool half the time. Mm-hmm. So and you just got to be careful when my grandkids are around. But yeah, that's sad as well. So prayers for both families. You know what? Real quick, I love the draft. I love the third pick. I like my question is, though, coming to the start of the season, if everything falls into place, what is our starting wide receiver core going to be for that first game? I know
competition, bro. I mean, Rick. I mean, who's going to be? I mean, if everyone is healthy, if everyone is healthy, week 1, Hodgins
will definitely be on the field.
Wandell in the slot would be my guess. Right. And then this is a good question. Is it going to be Hyatt? Is it going to be Slayton? Is it going to be Paris Campbell? Is it going to be Sterling Shepard?
Yeah.
Like, it's a real, like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. And what about a 2 tight end set? Do you think we're going to see a lot of that with Bellinger and Waller?
Yes.
Is that going to be something? And when they do that, the defense has to make has to be aware of that, because I think that's going to be something that they won't be able to guard them both. So that could help.
Waller is like another receiver on the field too.
Correct.
So and he at 6'6" is he? Or
so while it's 12 personnel, it's functionally 11 personnel because Waller's that good of a receiver. That's correct.
Yeah. So we'll see. Slayton, no, and Shepard. As much as I love him in the past and everything, I really think we need to move on from him in a way. Yep. I mean, we need to go forward with the team, but maybe he does make a little bit of a comeback. But I think Slayton, definitely not Slayton. I think maybe the new kid may be able to start. And Eagles, I mean, come on, can their defense get any better?
No.
What is going on with this draft that they get those 2 guys? Now, I mean, hey, listen, roll Tide, brother, but they got Georgia on their mind, man. That's all they got.
They did. It's the same thing that Washington did a few years
Thank
ago.
You, Rick.
Drafting
Appreciate the call, man.
Drafting Alabama's entire defensive line.
I mean,
they just do it.
Freaking Eagles. And look, they the way they structured Hurts' contract, they got like a 2 or 3 year window here, and they're going to try, but now they're getting all their replacements. So when Fletcher Cox retires and Brandon Graham retires, all right, just Jalen Carter, here you go. All right, Nolan Smith, here you go. We're fine.
The NFC will be rolling through the Eagles for a while. We're going to have to beat them some way, somehow.
Yeah.
Everybody else is kind of like looking. They're not worried about it. They're hoping that we all beat each other up, but it's going to be Philadelphia. You're going to have to go through Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts to get it going.
No argument for me. Let's wrap it up with Ryan in Illinois. He'll wrap us up today on Tuesday's Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, guys. How we doing?
We're great.
Good.
First of all, I got to say that the in the weeds conversations oftentimes lead to some really fun stuff. So
there we go. I like the weeds. Thank you, Ryan.
Out of the weeds.
I agree.
Every once in a while, you get a really good nugget about one of you guys, and or something about the history of the Giants. I don't want to shut it down too much.
I like that. All right. Feedback. We like feedback.
Terrible.
I was going to ask. I'm a huge fan of the first, 3. I mean, I really like all the draft, but with your guys' coverage, it was easy to be familiar with Michael Schmitz, Deontay Banks, and Jalen Hyatt, and so it was a really nice process, kind of coming into it and seeing their names up there, because it's like you had this connection with them, even though I barely even watch college football. You guys kind of brought that to me, so thank you for that.
No problem.
Secondly, what position group that we addressed early in the draft do you feel best about now? Do you feel like, okay, the center position has been solved for 10 years? Or do you feel like, hey, I mean, we could still use competition there? What do you guys think?
If it was up to if I'm going to call one position out, the cornerback position has been drastically upgraded. Not that our cornerbacks weren't good or anything, but this kid Banks he's the real deal. So it's going to be interesting to see how everybody else kind of gets after it. I think the receiver room got better. Center is a hard thing. I think the kid's going to play great. I think Smith is going to play really, really well. But if he doesn't have guys, on both sides of him that's playing well, he could have a hard time.
Are you talking about, let me ask you, let me follow up, Brian. This year or long term? Specifically, you're asking about.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Well, I guess the problem with that is that, you have to have many cornerbacks.
Well, right. And that's why I asked, because I'm with Howard. I think Banks steps in. I think he does a real good job year. And the problem is that Adoree Jackson's a free agent after the year.
Yeah.
So then what? Are we adding another guy like Deontay Banks next year? Where do you go next with that? For wide receiver, I still think we're missing a number one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have your alpha yet in that group. I think you got a bunch of guys that can play, but you're still missing an alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Draft next year, trade, however you get that guy, who knows? So I think I would probably have to say the position group I feel best about of those top three would probably be the offensive line, because I think you have the pieces in the building. Perhaps long-term, 4 out of 5 of those positions. You know, Glowinski's just got 1 year left on his deal, so we don't know how long he's going to be here. 1 year after this year, I mean.
Yeah.
But you have 4 other young guys that I think you drafted with the idea that they're going to be starters for you. Now,
true.
are they there yet? No. We haven't seen Evan Neal play well enough to think he's going to be a long-term starter at right tackle, though you think he's the talent to do it. I think he will be. I think he's a talent for it.
If he stays healthy, he will be all right.
I totally agree. Azudu at left guard, I think we hope as a third-round pick he can do it, and we hope Schmitz is a second-round pick we can do it. So I like the long-term potential of that group, even though we haven't necessarily seen it on the field quite yet. That's how I answer the question.
I'm going to say DB, and I'm going to say because, you know, you got Flott that's going to still be out there. He's a young kid. He's going to gain some weight and be a lot stronger as he goes, and he has great ball skills. So you have Flott and Banks out there. There's no real safe place for you to go with the ball, even though, you know Banks is, you know, if you wanted to, if someone had an alpha receiver, Banks shadows. So now you got the other guy, you got Flott on the other side. So it could be, they could be around, those two could be around for a long, long time.
And I like Jerome Henderson coaching up Banks. He's a really good coach.
Absolutely.
He's going to get him playing well quickly.
Absolutely.
All right, Ryan, thanks for the call, pal.
Yeah. Do you mind if I have one more or no?
Yeah, real fast.
I was going to say, actually kind of feeding off the positional coach backdrop, which developmental player do you like getting molded by one of our coaches, like taking kind of an unproven guy, making him into something?
2 good questions. Thank you, Ryan. Boy, that's a really good question by Ryan there.
The tight end maybe from last year?
Bellinger, yeah. I like.
No. The kid that moved from receiver to tight end.
Oh, gosh. I had the name on my tongue, and now it just ran away.
Is he still here?
Cager?
Yeah,
Cager.
Lawrence Cager. Thank you.
Is he still here?
Yeah, he's still here.
That's the most developmental guy that I know that we have that could actually, if he figures out a couple things, would be a huge impact in the game.
I know Drew Wilkins is a really good outside linebacker coach. I mean, Thibodeau's the easy answer, but, I mean.
No, he said guys that were kind of off the mark.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's too easy.
Yeah. Unless he brings like Fox or one of those guys up and let them, they become like really big influences.
Here, you know what? I'm going to go. I think Mike Groh's a really good wide receiver coach. I'm going to go Paris Campbell. I know he's been in the league 3 or 4 years already, but he missed almost 2.5 with injury.
Okay.
So I still kind of view him as a young player that's getting better.
Okay.
I think he has the talent and ability. I'm going to say Paris Campbell.
All right. There we go. Cager and Campbell. We'll see.
And I think Flott is, you mentioned Flott. I think Flott's in that mix too.
I think Flott's going to be a pretty good player. I think he really is going to be a pretty good player. I like his ball skills. He's got really great ball skills.
How about Dane Belton at safety?
I like him, but, you know, he's a little further away right now.
I agree. Yeah. And I think, excuse me, I've talked for like 3 straight hours. Beavers, I think, is another guy that we talked about earlier in the show.
Yes.
Where he's a guy I think you can get something out of an inside linebacker, too, as a developmental guy.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
To pick one specific one is just the one, like I said, the one that jumped out at me was, you know, Cager off the bat. But there are a lot of guys now that we're talking about it.
Howard, a pleasure.
Always, brother.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for being with us. I will be off the show the next couple of days. I think I'll be back Friday. We'll see. Big Blue Kickoff Live. We have minicamp stuff on Friday. We'll see if I'm out in the practice field or not. We'll figure it out. Either way, for Howard Cross, I'm John Schmeelk. Oh, one piece of business I got to do. Don't forget to join Beth Dable and Marie Shane for Sleep Out Women Unite on Thursday, May 4th. It benefits the Covenant House, New Jersey. Women will join in solidarity and sleep on the field at MetLife Stadium to support youth overcoming homelessness and survivors of human trafficking. For more information, visit sleepout.org. Giants season tickets, giants.com/tickets. Go check it out. A lot of cool benefits for season tickets next season. Limited inventory. Go check it out. And go download Giants TV, our official streaming app, on your favorite smart TV or wherever else you get your streaming programming. For Pearson, for Howard, I'm Schmeelk. We'll see you next time on Big Blue Kickoff Live.